point of this video. It's a very touchy subject because I begin with abortion. I want you to know, this talk is not about damning people who've had abortions or sex or use birth control. That isn't the point of this video. The point of this video, which I will move incrementally to the end. Hopefully you'll understand by the end what I truly mean in its entirety. It's that we need to change humanity. Humanity, creation itself. By knowing that inside we are valuable, we are worthy, we are good. Doesn't matter what we do or how we think about ourselves. We can change. We learn. All of us are imperfect. All of us have done wrong. But in small steps, we can move forward and change. Instead of the path that we are on now, we're deteriorating. We're going down. It's getting worse for all creation. And we have to know that it is possible in very small steps, with little things, little changes, little things that we do. We can completely change ourselves, turn around in another direction, and become better than we ever thought we could be. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Please enjoy the video. Good morning or good evening, friends. I want to talk about a touchy subject. As a woman, there's something that would be really nice if eventually this changed in society. Women aren't 100% to blame for this abortion epidemic going on in the country. They certainly aren't. Society is, and our culture is deteriorating. I'll first start with the descendants of slaves and how they went from slavery, became free, and were working harder, like 50 times harder than white people were. It was amazing. And they were moving up in society. And then you had people like George Washington Carver and Booker T. Washington, who were geniuses, who basically turned their backs to their past as former slaves and went up. I'm not going to look at what's behind me anymore. And you had at that time an intact family. You had your grandparents and your aunts and your uncles and your parents, everybody living in close proximity and going to church every weekend. It's a very bonding thing, very spiritual thing. There's nothing more spiritual and more moving than a black gospel choir. At this time, girls went to church and they were taught that they should be respected. And they were taught that you stay a virgin until you get married. You know, you wait for a good man to show up. And he'll work hard and he'll provide for his family. Because there was a value to family. they valued the grandparents and their aunts and uncles and extended family. They also valued their community. But it was important, they were important, and they were children of God. And this was lived very strong in the Black community because the church was an integral part of society. Say, if you were down and out, or if you were an alcoholic, you could go to the church, and the church was the hub of the community, where there were dinners and there were places you could go to speak and talk about your troubles and why you became an alcoholic, or whatever trouble or heartache you were having in life. You had a support system. That's what the church was a support system. And this country's moved away from that. We've broken up, instead of that being the center. And with the church being the center of a community, you're ever reminded that you're children of God. You're more than just human. You're a child of God. You should be respected. God is the king. Jesus was the king, right? That's royalty. You're children of royalty. So the church reminded you of this. And you go to church and the singing was so beautiful, just powerful and uplifting. I would suggest listening to some of Mahailia Jackson and Sam Cooke. Both of them my favorite. I was raised listening to the gospel music of both of them. Sam Cooke, you think pop music, but he really was one of the greatest gospel singers that ever lived. And Mahailia Jackson was probably the greatest female that has ever lived. And there was no doubt, when you listen to the sound of their voices, there's no doubt that God existed, or that they believed otherwise, that God didn't exist. God existed. God was real. God was the king. And they were the children of that king, no matter what they went through in their past, that these were descendants or former slaves, right? And the illegitimacy rate was 10% in the Black community, 30% in the white community. It seems like there was something happening in the white community. It seemed like the white culture started to break down, move away, indulge in a lot of things, a lot of drinking, a lot of partying, where at that time, the Black community was not so indulgent. Drugs hadn't entered the inner cities yet. They weren't congregated in inner cities. And the drugs were one of the pieces that took the Black culture down. Though I'm speaking about all races, all colors, as far as the abortion debate goes. And as I've said many times, it was Margaret Sanger, who was a white supremacist, that wanted to get rid of these unwanted minority populations and also unwanted poor whites, and put these abortion clinics everywhere so they'd be accessible, and there would be an out. If you got pregnant, there'd be an out. So it wasn't so scary having sex before you got married. You weren't shamed. You weren't going to walk down the street pregnant and entice any shame upon yourself. Not if you could have an abortion. A woman was afraid to walk down the street pregnant, to reveal to her family that she was pregnant, that she had sex before she got married. It was a scary thing, right? So if there are abortion clinics, and when contraception became available, then you could take that chance. You wouldn't be shamed by being pregnant and not being married. So that took our culture down. And men always push the envelope. They want to have sex. It's about having sex. It's not about, I want to have sex with this woman. She's very important and she's very, very special. And we're going to share this bond and it's going to be beautiful. Men have sex with women to have sex with women. They don't necessarily care, even if she's pretty or not, or if there's anything about her that's valuable. So what happened was our culture as a people, humanity went down because men didn't value women. Men didn't value the act of making love. When two people make love, it's a very vulnerable experience. You become vulnerable with each other, in each other's arms. And it is a great joy and beauty. And within that experience, creation comes about. Two people who get together who are in love can create another human being, and it's a beautiful thing. But for the sake of having the sexual experience, the product, the reason for that experience was to create life between two people who loved each other. And when it came about that you just want the experience, the feeling for that moment, and then the man would basically, okay, it's time for you to go now. The woman realizes that she's not valued anymore. She's not valued. He wasn't with you because he valued you. He wasn't with you and you felt this beautiful experience. Just this beautiful feeling and this vulnerability. And you see him become vulnerable. And there's a certain beauty about two people who love each other and having that feeling of life. I've never been pregnant, but that thought, as a woman, within your womb, the life that two people who love each other, who become vulnerable in each other's arms, have created a life. That's something that's created between, hey baby, you and I created this. This is our child. These are the genes, the DNA between the two of us created this life that has its own separate DNA, a whole separate person. And there's a joy in that. But when it was easy to get rid of a child, it was easy to use contraception, and you can just have sex, and no one knew you went to church on Sunday, or you looked respectable. No one knew you were doing this. There was a time it was looked down upon if you did this before marriage or you got pregnant before marriage. And so what happened to women? Women feel differently in the act of copulation, making love. They feel differently than men. Because with men, it's external. It's something that it's on the outside of them. For women, it is internal. It literally is. The whole act is internal. Inside a woman, a child is created between that union, right? And that beating heart is beating with her heart, isn't it? But when the man just pops in, goes off, and He says everything and does everything to get that girl into bed, to give up something that virginity was once prized, that she held herself and would give that, open herself to her husband, the man that was going to support her children. She would do it. She had an enormous job to do, being a housewife. Well, housewife, such an evil thing to say now, but when a woman runs a home, that's a lot of work, running a home. And cleaning and cooking and being an economist and raising children, that's an incredibly hard job. And it's a very important job, because you're creating the next generation. It's going to go out and hopefully make this world a better place, that they're strong and they create new life that's also strong and also good and loving people, peaceful people, people that are going to hold the world together and bring it up. So when a woman creates life, when a family creates life, you're creating the whole world. There's that saying, it says in the Mishnah Sanhedrin in the Talmud, it says that when Cain killed Abel, it is referenced in the Quran in Surah 5, 32 and 33, not just 5, 32. Unfortunately, that particular reference, the verse, Surah is the chapter, and then the verse, only part of that verse is repeated, and people think that this comes out of the Quran, but they never say verse 33. Verse 32 in its entirety says that God said to the Jewish people that if you kill one person, it's like killing the whole world. But I, Allah, say to you, if they do not accept the Quran, that you should. I won't go any further. It's not good. It's not good. But it's referencing the Mishnah Sanhedrin, and it speaks about when you kill a man, you're killing all his descendants, everything, all life that could have come after him. So when someone has one child, you're creating, this one child will go out and have their own family, and that family will beget more families and more families. And these people affect the world and make it a better place. Hopefully. A good mother, a good mother is very valuable. See, that's why we need to value women, not just have sex with them. Value them. Because if she values herself, what happens is when the act occurs, and then all of a sudden the man is gone, and then the woman is left. She could be left pregnant, alone, scared. She realizes she's not valuable, and her child is even less valuable, because she thought that was love, was created by love. But it wasn't. And so women had to disengage from their own emotions. They had to feel less and less and cut things off. Cut even the idea of having a future with this man that you thought loved you, or thought you were beautiful, thought you were smart. And then you realized that you were nothing. So a part of yourself is cut off. I remember there was a Jamaican man play the flute in town, and he would tell you to pick a card. And he told me to pick 2 cards, and one card was the cherubs. And he said that I was very connected to children and heavenly things. You just pick these cards out of the deck. And the other card was the hind. And the hind is it's like a white horse, but it has a beautiful hind, beautiful behind. And so the picture, the drawing, is just the hind of a white horse. And the hind is a very mystical, very pure beast or creature. And I remember him saying to me, he put the 2 together and explained 2 cards to me, but I remember him saying to me a strange thing that he just came out and said, that when 2 people have sex, some part of their being is lost. Every time you have sex, some part of your being is lost, breaks off. Part of your soul breaks off. That's why you should be with someone who loves you, who values you and respects you, because that part that goes away, a part of them is given to you. It's kind of like you give part of your souls to each other. So as a gift, you give part of your soul. It's not lost if they in turn also give part of their soul back, of their soul, to you. And so you become more than what you were. You grow and change, and you develop into a very unique person. He said, unfortunately, when you have sex, 2 people have sex and they go away, both of them have lost pieces of their soul. Both of them are less than what they were before. So when a woman is left and she's in fear, or she's realized that you gotta use birth control, you gotta have that abortion, you gotta do that, guy does not want the kid. He's not gonna be there for you in any way. He's not going to, even if you don't have a child, he's not going to be there for you. There's a part of you that he doesn't value or respect at all. So the woman is left. And because the man doesn't say, hey, this is our child, this is our creation, this creation can go out and affect the world. And people, other creatures in the world, become more valuable because of what we've created. You put out into the world, you create a child, and then you teach the child, and then the child grows more, sees its parents loving and respecting each other, an intact, valuable relationship. Everybody values each other. Like the Black family, they valued their grandparents, their parents, their grandparents. Their beings meant something. The fact that you were a product of them meant something. But then when the product, the creation, becomes valueless. In New York City, there's sadly less Black children born than there were aborted. You can't help but everyone becomes less valuable. Even the man. It's not just the man's fault, it's everybody. There's the fault, the blame. The blame is in society. That we've made the human being, so socialism is so popular. You think that it's a utopia that's going to take care of you, take care of everyone. But it propagates the breakdown of families and the breakdown of individuals. You're no longer unique. You're no longer an individual that's valuable. You're just like anything else. it actually, there's pieces of the soul that you lose, that man was telling me. It cuts pieces off of you. There's no value to you anymore. And that's aside from abortion. Or sex with that, when the guy has sex with you and just leaves. Doesn't value you. Says, no, it's contraception. I don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't want to have anything to do with creation. You're devaluing, like it says, you kill one person, it's like killing the whole world. You've devalued all creation. I understand some people can't afford to have children. I understand situations where a woman, there's fears of having a child. But if we valued each other more, if humanity still had value, and I think that's part of the problem, that humanity doesn't have value anymore, and it's deteriorating more and more. That we see infanticide, and they're calling it postnatal abortion after the baby's born. That we push the envelope so far beyond contraception to beyond partial birth abortion, viable fetus stage, to the baby's born. And in socialist countries, if you have no value, they kill you. If you don't ascribe by socialism, you're shot. They kill you. If you are handicapped, if you are sick, if you're a burden on the system, there isn't health care for all. It isn't that everybody gets taken care of. And if we open up the borders of this nation and 400 million people who live south of the Rio Grande come in, how can anybody have health care? How can anybody have clean water, clean air? It's too much. It's too much in one place. And a country that has winters, cold, not enough fuel, not enough people die every year in the winter. That if you have more people in one country, more people will die during the winter. It's almost like, come out of these warm countries and come to this cold place, put you all together, and then a lot of people die off. It just seems like it's a part of devaluing human existence, what's happening. It's not helping the people from south of the border. It's actually a way of killing more people, and then people are coming in who are sick. You know, tuberculosis. It's made a comeback. It cost $450,000 to treat someone with a curable tuberculosis, and then there's incurable. And you pack them all in with one contagious disease. To me, it's a way that they're trying to kill more people. And they keep saying, you must give up, you must give up, you must give up. You have too much. You live in a prosperous society. You have too much. You must keep giving up. You must keep giving up. You're worth less and less. Then if people are spread out, there's less chances of diseases to be spread and caught easily than if you pack people in. More chance to have clean water. More chance for the land and the environment to renew itself than if you pack people into one place. It's part of the reasons why inner cities are so bad, because everybody's packed in. It seems like you're packing everyone in. So the idea is you value creation and even animals less and less. More animals are slaughtered too. But all wildlife less and less, because there's more landfills, less places for wildlife, right? So it goes hand in hand, the whole abortion debate. Two people who get together a man will say anything to get that woman into bed. She feels that he loves her. And then he leaves. And she realizes she's worth nothing. And baby in her womb, possibly, it's worth nothing. What can she do? So the fault, how did we come to this place? How did we let this go so far? Because we wanted to experience the beauty of sex and the joy of sex, and everybody wanted to have as many sexual experiences as possible. But after you have the experience, it's over. It's gone. It doesn't come with you. It doesn't last. You have to have more and more and more. And then more and more and more just means you value less and less people, don't you? I'm not talking about the people who stay together in relationships. I'm talking about the people who just go from person to person to person. Or very recently, a man said to me, "Oh, you have to understand it. This is why I did it. I only recognize who's in front of me at the time. You weren't in front of me at the time, but I live far away." You're worth nothing. You're worth nothing. So that child that's born, that once the most beautiful, precious thing was a baby, and then you would give it up for adoption if you couldn't afford it, you couldn't take care of it. And that's the most beautiful thing in the world. Because you've created a life that, they say, Jesus said, don't let the right hand know what the left is doing. It's like you do a good deed, but you do it without reaping any reward. You do it without anybody knowing that you've done it. And when you give a child up for adoption, it's kind of like that. You're doing a good deed, and they'll never know. The child will never know the good deeds you did. No, and probably no one else will know that you created this life and you gave it to somebody who couldn't have children. And this new life is growing and being loved by a family that can take care of it. That's like doing a good deed. Don't let the left hand know what the right is doing. Just do the good deed for the good deed's sake. Not to gain anything. That's what you do. And that is great mother. The one that can't take care of the child, what it says. I'm going to give this as a gift, and the child will never know me, the person that gave it life. But you're going to go off in the world, and you're going to have a wonderful, and you're going to affect the world in a beautiful way, because the parents you're going to go to are going to value you, and I value you, even though you'll never know me. Abortion, especially after-birth abortion. If we're not shocked and stunned into reality, if we're not taking to the streets and say, stop this, the child is born. This child is born. A viable fetus on the table dead. Partial birth abortion. Looks like a baby to me, but it's dead and it's in pieces. For the sake of Planned Parenthood selling a fully grown baby that's dead, but they use the organs to sell to people whose babies are valued. There's something wrong about this. It's a money-making thing. It's the people who can buy these organs and these parts from these babies that they don't value, that they're encouraging. And they stood up and they cheered in New York State when a woman could kill her baby after it was born. If you never thought that, it's a woman's right to choose, and there's certain circumstances, and you don't know her circumstances, Then it went to partial birth, viable fetus. That's a baby. Take it out, that's a baby. It's dead, but it was a baby, wasn't it? Not a fetus. In socialism, they change words. Say, a revolutionary is the one that conforms to the communist state. You think, do, and say everything the communist state tells you to do. They tell you where you can live, how you can live, what you can wear, how much space in this world you can occupy, what you do for a living, what you read, everything they tell you. There's no happiness. You're not valued as a human being. You're not a human being. You're a drone. You're a cell in the state. The state comes first. The dictator comes first. The dear leader comes first. Lenin, that was embalmed for all time. His body will never decay, but he's important. But you are nothing. So they cheered. They cheered that there would be less people in the world, that this would be good for climate change, prevent the environmental disaster, because this life, we get to kill them after they're born. And that envelope will be pushed further. Anytime, as long as the child cannot support itself, it's going to be pushed further. Then the government will do it, because it doesn't want anything as a burden on the state. Less people in the world. No more foster children. No more orphanages. You don't want an orphanages. You want any orphans you want them to be with a family. So it becomes easier to kill life. Because it's not just the life inside you that dies, that's growing inside you, but it is your life inside you. Pieces of it have been cut off. And part of the blame is with the man who doesn't look at you and value you, just wanted this experience that's transient. And you feel bereft. Something has been taken from you. That piece of your soul has been taken. You have to keep having it and having it. But at what end? Is it going to get better by the end? Is it going to get better and better and better? Are you going to feel happier and happier and happier and more fulfilled as a human being the more experiences that you have? Shouldn't it be that you find the person that works the best with you and values you, and you value yourself? And if we all value ourselves and each other, we have a general love for humanity, this world can't help but be a better place. I mentioned Leo Biscaglia before, and he said he's got his PhD in love, sexual love, but just people, humanity loving humanity, and creation. He said, take your child's face in your hands every day and look at your child's face and say to your child, I want to look to you. I want to memorize your face as it is at this moment. Because I know tomorrow, the next moment, it's going to be different. You're going to grow. You're going to get older. You're going to change. And I want to remember your face as it is right now. And then tomorrow, I'll look at your face again. And I will memorize your face and how it has changed, how it is different. And I'll be full of joy looking at you every moment, every day, and remembering how precious it is. Every moment was, every day was, to see you change. And the beauty that you were yesterday, the beauty that you are today. Because you'll never look like this again. And I never want to forget it. How many people pass us by in their lives? Nothing matters. How many times do we look or not look in the mirror? How many times do we sit there and think, I'm beautiful, I matter. Look at my face now. The next moment it's going to change. Tomorrow it will change. I will grow older. How many times do we value just looking, not for vanity, but value you, your creation, everything about you, every talent that you have, everything that you've ever done? How much do we value ourselves? I'm not trying to put any blame if whatever you have done, whatever thing that you have done. It's very important to say that we grow, we change, we look at things differently, we understand things differently. It's not that we never will make a mistake. We always make mistakes. We always do things that we could have done things better. It's not about damning your past. I could damn my past. I damn my past every day of my life. I regret everything I've ever done. So it's not that I'm better. I understand. We all keep making mistakes. It's about you learn, you understand the better road. And it isn't about tomorrow or right now. Everything is just going to change in a heartbeat. It's that society, we have to look at humanity differently, how we work in the world differently, how we value each other differently, and by incremental steps, value each other, value ourselves more and more, and then eventually society can change. It is the way it is now, and we have to change it for the better, move away from what we were. St. Augustine, they say, committed every crime that you could ever commit, every sin you could ever make, and he became a great saint and great thinker. That people, even if they're not Catholic, study his thinking. He was brilliant, but he committed every sin imaginable. And that's the thing about Christianity. You're able to be renewed and walk away from when you make a mistake, you can walk away from it and become a new person. Your heart can change in an instant. And that's the way of all flesh. We all have sinned. We all could be stoned to death. Because we've all done something wrong. It's about looking at things differently, understanding things differently. And if you don't, that's one thing. But when you do, even if it's in small incremental steps, changing little at a time, then you will grow and you will value yourself. This talk is about valuing yourself, valuing family, valuing the good people around you, seeing goodness in someone who can't see goodness in themselves, treating them in a way that they are good. And they start saying, "You're seeing this in me?" Well, if you see only bad in someone, and you keep telling them that they're bad, they'll go down that road. They'll believe it. But if you keep telling yourself, "No, there's a good person inside of me. There's a person that can change and renew and get better and better." You see that in yourself, and you can see that in humanity. Lift humanity up. Become better and better. More and more people that you thought were gone, going down a road that they'll never turn back from. Humanity can bring them back and look at themselves and start valuing themselves and valuing other people. Change a little bit at a time. Interact with people differently. Look at your face. At this moment, it will never be, it will never look like this again. Each moment we change. Each moment, value yourself. In every moment, value your family, your child, your friends, people you work with, people you pass by. Sometimes a smile can just change everything. You're feeling depressed or you're feeling suicidal, and somebody just smiles at you or opens the door for you or lets you go in line first. Me? Really? Why am I more important than you? And then all of a sudden, you feel differently about yourself. And you might feel, the moment before you were depressed, feel like committing suicide. And in that moment, when someone looked at you and said, "No, go ahead. You go first." "Yeah, go ahead." "Me?" Something as simple as that can turn everything around. So, this talk wasn't about what you have ever done wrong. This talk is about how we can change ourselves, the way we see ourselves, value ourselves, and how we can, somebody who we'll never see again, just do a little kindness that might change their lives and the way they look at the rest of their lives forever. Just think about it. Thank you for joining.